Relieved tonight. Joining me now, Republican Representative Adam Kinzinger. He may be one of those relieved congressmen, a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, thanks for joining us. Are you glad that Scott Pruitt is gone?
You bet. Yeah, I think it's time. It's a distraction. There were stories every day. It's interesting. As a Republican, I liked a lot of the policies coming out of the EPA. I thought the EPA was returning to its mission of interpreting congressional laws instead of making its own. But then all these things that were coming out around it, some may be scandals, some may be visual issues. And bottom line, it was taking a lot of this off message. And there's a temptation when you're in public service. We get paid well, but you're always around people that are worth millions and billions sometimes when you're running in different circles. And the temptation for people in public service can say, well, I want to be worth millions and billions too. And maybe there's an opportunity after public service. But the concern is during, you have to put those guards up and say, look, I'm here to work for the people. I'm going to do what's right by the people, even if they disagree with my policies. And I think that's seemingly where he seemed to have gone wrong.
And Congressman, Scott Pruitt's replacement is going to carry out the same policies, which I guess you support. So why do you think President Trump turned a blind eye to Pruitt's unethical, swamp-like behavior for so long? He could have just gotten somebody else in there earlier to carry out these policies. Why did he stick with Pruitt for so long?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't answer that. I haven't talked to the president about it, and there's some things he does that it's hard for me to determine why or where he comes from on it. Maybe he just really likes Scott. Maybe he liked the policies he was putting out. Maybe there was something else. I admire personality traits. I'm not sure what it was, but when it's all said and done, he resigned. He did the right thing. And I think it's time that we now move forward and get somebody in that position. Hopefully the acting director is good, and we get somebody in that position that'll carry out, frankly, the president's policies, but do it in a way that'll maintain the trust of the people, even if they disagree with the policies he's putting out, he or she.
And in his resignation letter, Pruitt says he resigned due to unrelenting personal attacks on him. Don't you think he takes some personal responsibility for his behavior? I mean, some of this stuff is just ridiculous.
Well, I'm not going to kick the guy while he's down after he puts an announcement or a resignation letter out. Sure, there's obviously a lot of personal responsibility he has on that. I don't know. I didn't actually even read the resignation letter. I'm not all that interested in it. But, when it's said and done, he's gone. I think we're going to hopefully move forward with somebody better fit for that position that can carry out the president's policies, and we'll go from there.
And I want to ask you about President Trump's immigration policies. HHS, as you know, has revised the number of children it says it has in custody. That number is up from what HHS previously told us, and it's still trying to figure out which children were separated from their parents, and even doing some DNA testing to sort all of this out. Are you comfortable with how the Trump administration has handled this policy? What is your reaction to the fact that they don't really seem to have, any idea, any firm idea of where all of these kids are, how to get them reunited with their parents, or even how many of these children they have?
Yeah, well, I think keep in mind a couple things. A lot of children were sent up without parents in the first place. They were sent unaccompanied. It's a very dangerous journey. Those that were sent up with their parents, there's a very intense process to get them back with the right people. And you think about it like this. If somebody shows up with a couple of kids and says, these are my kids, nobody has identification on them. So what the government has to make sure is that, in fact, the children of the person that's claiming to be or is it a human trafficker, or is it a coyote or somebody like that? So I think that the government's doing what it needs to do to get these back to the right people. God forbid we reunite somebody with somebody that's not their children. I would like it to be done faster, and I think if there's resources to do it, I've gotten briefed. The government is trying to do everything they can to get this situation fixed, but we have to make sure we're doing it right, because again, if we put a kid with somebody that claims to be their father, maybe they look alike, maybe the kid saying it's his dad because he's scared to say otherwise, and it's not, that's a whole nother story that I don't think we want to have.
And you said that you think that the government is doing everything possible to get these kids back with their families, but do you think when they first started separating these children from their parents that they had a plan for reuniting these children with their parents when their detentions were over? Did they seem to lack the necessary planning at the beginning of this process? Because that's what it looks like to everybody else.
I'm not sure. I can't answer to that. Yeah, well, I can't answer to that because I don't know what they were thinking necessarily at the beginning. And I pretty much early on caught out and said that these kids should be reunited with their parents. What we don't want to do, though, now, the border is being flooded right now, and we have to figure out this asylum issue and how to put this in the right way so people that legitimately deserve asylum are coming here and claiming it, and not people that are just told the script to say at the border so that they can be put in the asylum train. And the whole point is being an American and coming to America isn't a right. It's a privilege. And if you're in a situation where you truly fear for your life, that is a courtesy that we have extended. And so I think we need to make sure we're doing that correctly. And unfortunately, a lot of people have found a way to circumvent and take advantage of that. And even beyond that, we are depriving these Central American countries of the very people that they need to fix their own problems. It's the same issue I had in Syria. I'm a big advocate for fixing Syria, but when people were leaving Syria, those are the very people we need to overthrow Assad and fix and have a better future for themselves as well.
Let me ask you about North Korea. President Trump says he had good chemistry with Kim Jong-un, and he's taking credit for the pause in missile and nuclear testing. He also said that President Obama was very close to going to war with North Korea. What do you make of that? Do all of the president's comments about North Korea and the deal he struck with Kim Jong-un, do they make sense to you? Do you have a firm grasp of what he's accomplishing with North Korea at this point?
Yeah, I think I've said on this, we're going to know when this process is complete. There's going to be days where there's valleys, it looks like everything's falling apart, days where there's hilltops, we think everything's coming together. It's really going to be judged by what comes out 4 or 6 months from now or however long this process takes. I was concerned with suspending military exercises. As a military guy, I know those are very important for wartime stuff. But ultimately, the right guy is there right now, Mike Pompeo. I know him well. And my prayer, frankly, my desperate hope is that we strike a deal where North Korea is denuclearized basically for forever, and then we don't have to go to a military.
Well, the administration says that they had already struck a deal, right?
Very serious.
The administration claims that they've already struck a deal, but it seems as though they're still trying to strike a deal.
Yeah, sure. I didn't like the idea of saying it's already denuclearized, it's already over, because there is a long journey ahead of us. And so maybe some of the words I wasn't fully on board with, like I said, with the military exercises. But I do give the president a lot of credit because he drove Kim Jong-un to the table with sanctions and with a ready military option. Now, my prayer is that when we look back and I'm on here in 6 months, we can say that it was successful.
He still has to close the deal, though. All right, Congressman Adam Kinzinger, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.